Welcome back to a new episode of Tommy's Turf Talks. Well, it is mid-November, and maybe like me, you still have some bare spots out there in the lawn, or maybe some thin turf, and you missed your window to put any seed down just like I did. Maybe because, like me, you were spending your time looking at the leaves this fall, maybe chugging copious amounts of pumpkin spice, or maybe you spent some cozy time with a blanket and a book that makes you feel all the tingles. And now it is too late to get that grass seed down before the frost comes and kills off any grass that has germinated. Well, don't worry, because you can always do a dormant seeding. And that is what we're going to be doing today on this episode of Tommy's Turf Talks. As always, please, if you are loving this content and cannot wait for next week's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, I would love to hear from you. Leave any comments down there below, and I will try to answer them as quickly as I possibly can. Please hit that like button. I need that dopamine boost. I am getting a little sad over here with the days getting shorter and shorter. So, what is dormant seeding? Well, it is pretty much what it sounds like. It's the practice of putting down grass seed late in the year, knowing full well that it is not going to germinate this year, but you're hoping that it will germinate when things warm up in the spring. So it starts to grow even before you can get out there on the lawn and start working on it. It usually does work fairly well. There are some issues with it, however. If you've got a lot of slope to your lawn and you try dormant seeding, well, if we get a lot of rainfall in the late fall, early winter, or in the early spring, then that grass seed could wash away from where you were trying to get it to grow, and you're going to have to throw down new grass seed in the spring anyways. Also, there is always the off chance that if we hit a real big heat wave and that soil temperature gets into that 50 to 60 degree range, that grass seed could germinate. And then if we go back into cold weather, it's going to kill off that grass seed, or not the grass seed per se, but it's going to kill off the new grass seedlings very quickly. Now, that is fairly rare up here in Minnesota, but it definitely could happen. All right, let's go out onto my lawn and I'll show you where I'm going to try to do this dormant seeding. So as you can see, I still have pretty thin grass here in the front of my house, mainly because the dog is still peeing here, and this tree that I have puts on a lot of shade, and I just can't seem to keep the thickness up around this tree the way that I like it. So we're going to try to do a dormant seed in this area today. Now, if you have not seen my episode on how to select quality grass seed, go back and watch that one so you can go out there and pick some good quality grass seed for when you're going to do this dormant seeding. And today, I'm just going to use some grass seed that I had laying in the garage, this bag of tough turf that you see here. I did not want to go out and purchase any new grass seed. There is always the off chance that this won't work as well as I wanted to, and I'll have to throw some grass seed down in the spring anyways. Now, a lot of these steps on how to do a dormant seed are going to look a lot like my episode on spot seeding, because it's basically the same thing. You're still trying to grow grass, so you're going to plant it down basically the same way. Now, before you decide to do a dormant seeding, you might be worried about the grass seed actually germinating still this year, and then we get into hard frost and all your hard work is for naught because that grass got killed off. Well, all you got to do is just check the soil temps to see what they're at. So you could use just any old thermometer that you have laying around the house. This is just a little digital thermometer that I have that I can stick into the ground and see what the soil temp is. Or you could go to this website here. Here's the address for it. This is a great website by Syngenta that will give me the soil temps and the 5-day average for whatever area I'm looking at. Great website. There are numerous websites out there that will give you soil temps. I just find this one to be the easiest to navigate and the easiest to get exactly what I'm looking for as quickly as I can. So if you're nervous, just go ahead and check your soil temp, either with a thermometer or by checking a website. And bluegrass, fescue, and ryegrass all need to have the soil inside of that 50 to about 60, 65 degree range to do any germination. So if you're well below that range, say in the 40 degree area, then I would not worry at all about that seed germinating. Also, if you're doing bluegrass and fescue, remember it takes a couple weeks for that grass seed to even start to germinate, and it will probably be even longer in cooler soil temps. So if it's still warm right now, but going to get cold very quickly, then I would say that you are good to go to throw down any grass seed and not have to worry about germination. So the first thing you want to do is loosen up the soil that's there. You could use a hard rake like this, or if you have a large area that you want to do, you could use an aerator. Be sure to go back and watch my episode on lawn aerations if you need any help on how to do that. But definitely with a large area, I would recommend an aerator. Smaller areas, you can use a hard rake, or really anything that you got laying around that's going to loosen up the soil that you have there already. Because just like normal spot seeds in the spring or the early fall, you want to get that good seed to soil contact, even with a dormant seed. Now, if you want to also add new dirt, you can always do that. Not necessary, but I had a few bags of this Menards topsoil laying around, so I'm going to throw this down on this spot, and it's just going to help it that much more to get some good seed to soil contact, and should improve my germination rates. So you're going to go ahead and put that dirt down. You could use a spreader. You could use a top dresser if you've got a very large area that you're trying to do. However, just have a small area, so I'm just going to spread this out by hand. But even by hand, if I don't want to do it one scoop at a time, I'm just going to go ahead and dump this bag here on the ground and rake it around with either a soft rake, hard rake. You can rake it around by hand. Doesn't really matter. You just want to get it nice and even across the area. If you do have existing grass here, like I do, you want to make sure that you don't get that dirt burying that existing grass. If you get about a ½ inch of dirt on top of existing grass, you're probably going to end up killing that grass. So spread it out nice and even. Make sure that the existing grass blades are sticking up the top of that dirt. All right, so now that I've got the ground worked and loosened up, and I did put down some new topsoil, it's time to go ahead and spread my seed out. Now, just like in my spot seeding episode, for small areas, will just use my hands to go ahead and spread the seed around. If you noticed on the aeration episode that I did, when I do overseeds or spot seeds in a large area, it is nice to use a spreader to move that seed around. Or again, you could use a drop spreader if you've got one of those or want to go rent one. But whatever you want to use, just get your seed down. Now, if the ground that you're doing is completely bare, I would say you'd want to use around 8 to 10 pounds of grass seed per 1,000 square foot. If it's just a thin area, then you could float around that 6 pounds of seed per 1,000 square foot. Now, it is going to kind of depend on what kind of grass seed that you're using, because 10 pounds of bluegrass seed is a lot more seeds than 10 pounds of ryegrass. That's because bluegrass seeds are a lot smaller than the ryegrass seed is. So once you got the seed down, no matter what method you decided to use, now you need to kind of work that seed into the soil. You could do this by hand, or you could use a soft rake, such as this. If you do use a rake, I would recommend using the back of the rake instead of the actual tines of the rake. This is because I just find that if you use the back, you're not pushing that seed into piles as much. The back just kind of lightly rakes things around and gets the seed just worked into that soil lightly and not push it into piles or dig it very deep into the dirt. And once you have all the grass seed worked in, just go ahead and give it a light watering. Again, we're not trying to get this grass seed to grow, so I don't need to water this every day like I would in the spring or the early fall. I'm just going to throw a little bit of water down. I would say if you got your sprinkler system still on, which I doubt you do, just run it for about 5 minutes, pull up the hose, spray it down for about 5 minutes. You do not need to soak it. I already turned off my water. I did not feel like turning it back on, so I decided to use my daughter's watering can. This took a little while, but I got a little bit of water down on the grass seed, and I would say that it was probably good enough. Now, if you have an area that does have a slope, you could always put down some sort of erosion matting after you get that grass seed down. You could use a straw blanket like this. You could use a bag of mulch like so. They do have mulch matting, any kind of matting that you can find. Just stake that down to the ground, and hopefully that will help hold your grass seed in the target area that you're trying to grow some grass. But again, if we get a lot of rain, any kind of erosion matting that you put down probably is not going to work 100%. And that's it. Really easy, just like a spot seed. You're just doing it very late in the year. That's really all there is to it, a dormant seeding. So I would recommend waiting as long as you possibly can. Just keep an eye on the weather. Make sure it's not going to snow on you before you can get out there and throw the grass seed down. And then just keep your fingers crossed and see what happens once spring comes around. So I wouldn't get too excited either. In the state of Minnesota, we could have snow on the ground until mid to late April. So just be patient and let things warm up. If, say, in the upper Midwest, you get to mid to late May and you're not seeing anything come up, then you can go ahead and probably throw down some more grass seed in that area, because the dormant seed probably did not take, or the grass seed just got pushed so deep during the winter that it's going to grow, but it just might not grow for another couple of years. Well, thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me today on this episode of Tommy's Turf Talks. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. I hope that you learned something about how to dormant seed. And I am going to start to try to push out content. I am still learning this process. I apologize, but hopefully I'll churn out content on a more regular basis as we move forward, and keep you guys all satiated on your Tommy's Turf Talk episodes. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys have a great one, and stay safe out there. I'm pulling for you.